And a good afternoon. I'm Lon Gonzalez, and this is South Texas Midday. The naming rights for the soon-to-be former American Bank Center has come front and center in a very big way, with Corpus Christi City Councilmember Eric Cantu Wednesday issuing a media release calling out the city's disqualification of attorney Thomas J. Henry's bid. Henry is reportedly one of two top contenders for the naming rights to the venue and has offered $1.25 million per year for 10 years for those rights. The other business involved has not been revealed. Cantu says Henry is the highest bidder for the naming rights, but the process could continue without City Council vote. Meanwhile, City Manager Peter Zanoni outlined that City Council members will have an opportunity to question the current American Bank Center management, OVG 360, on the naming rights process. That meeting could happen next week. There's a growing crime trend that's been targeting shoppers and even some bank customers. It's called jugging, and it involves breaking into a person's vehicle after they've left shopping centers or a visit to a bank. Corpus Christi Police Lieutenant Brian Hager says criminals set up surveillance and are on the lookout for persons buying products or even taking cash from an ATM. The criminals then wait for the perfect moment to steal items from the vehicle. He adds that once that crime is committed, suspects tend to move on to another community. 14 jugging incidents were reported in 2024, with 7 reported already this year. Jugging is classified as a misdemeanor in Texas, but could be reclassified as a felony with legislative action. Police recommend you always lock your car. Don't leave money or expensive valuables in your vehicle. Take those valuables home. And if you think you're being followed, call police immediately. Corpus Christi Public Libraries this week released 2 library card options for minors. The new cards are now part of the current youth card, which offers families more control over their child's library access. Library officials say the new changes are part of requests made for more age-appropriate book borrowing restrictions. The cards are broken down into 3 levels: a youth library card, a juvenile card, and a teen card. The youth and juvenile cards are for ages 0 to 17. The teen card, is for ages 13 to 17. Each has a variety of restrictions and access availabilities. The U.S. Department of Justice is suing Texas for giving in-state tuition to college students without legal status. Bill Ziebel with KERA in Dallas reports on the attempt to end a decades-old policy.
The DOJ filed a complaint to block a 23-year-old Texas law that gives college students here without legal status in-state tuition. Attorney General Pam Bondi said in a statement that violates federal law. In Texas, about 8% of the state's nearly 700,000 students in public colleges lack legal status, according to the nonprofit President's Alliance on Higher Education and Immigration. The policy targeted by the DOJ dates from 2001. Texas became the first state offering in-state tuition to students without legal status if they met certain residency requirements. Nearly half the states now have similar policies. The DOJ's lawsuit is another Trump administration effort targeting immigrants and tightening immigration policy. I'm Bill Ziebel in Dallas.
For years, Texas lawmakers have tried to stop food stamp recipients from purchasing snack food. With support from the federal government, Texas's first step to root out unhealthy food from the Supplemental Nutrition and Assistance Program, or SNAP, will become reality after Senate Bill 379 from State Senator Mays Middleton of Galveston made it through in the last week of the legislative session. It comes just 4 months after fellow Texan and U.S. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins signaled to states that the agency would greenlight measures that prohibit SNAP recipients from using their subsidies to buy certain foods. The measure is likely to be signed by Governor Greg Abbott, who's already notified Rollins' office he wants a waiver from federal rules to keep junk food from SNAP purchases. There are 2 new members in the Coastal Bend Sports Hall of Fame. The announcement coming earlier this week with the addition of former Gregory-Portland football coach Ray Akins. His Wildcat teams were dominant in the region during his tenure, where he amassed a 208-win, 51-loss, and 7-tie record between 1965 and 1988. The second inductee was Brooks Kieschnick, who played baseball for Carroll High School, the University of Texas, and in Major League Ball with the Chicago Cubs, Tampa Bay Rays, Cincinnati Reds, Colorado Rockies, Cleveland Indians, Chicago White Sox, and Milwaukee Brewers. After 140 days at the Capitol in Austin, the Texas legislature has wrapped up its 89th session. This year, our state lawmakers passed over 1,200 bills, and this being Texas, there were, of course, several important pieces of legislation focused on energy and the environment. There are reporters across the state to highlight some of the key measures they've tracked at the Capitol this session and explain what they'll mean for the Lone Star State. Barring a veto from Governor Greg Abbott, all these will soon become law in Texas. We start with efforts to increase the state's water supply. And KTTZ's Brad Burt reports from Lubbock.
At the start of the session, Governor Abbott said Texas needed to make a, quote, generational investment in water. The availability of groundwater here is expected to decline by 25% by 2070, while the demand for water could double even sooner. Farmers and ranchers depend on groundwater for irrigation, which currently puts the highest demands on the state's water supply. L'Oreal Stepney is chairwoman for the Texas Water Development Board. She told lawmakers that demand could shift to growing cities before 2060.
Our municipal demand is steadily increasing and will surpass irrigation. Municipal is going to be the number one user, and it'll be here before we know it.
SB 7 clears the path for $1 billion new dollars annually in the Texas Water Fund. It'll be used to find new water sources and repair the infrastructure that carries it across Texas, a possible relief for farmers from the Rio Grande Valley to the Panhandle. Speaking of the Panhandle, that region was also the site of historic wildfires in 2024, including the largest ever recorded in Texas. Most of the firefighting in rural areas is done by volunteers, and this year the legislature also passed a bill to increase potential grant funding and resources for those volunteer departments. Both bills, fire and water, are waiting for Governor Abbott's signature. Up next, we hear from Mose Bushell from KUT in Austin about changes Texas lawmakers made and didn't make to the state's power grid.
One big question going into this session was whether lawmakers would curb the massive growth of renewable energy in Texas. Bills like SB 715 and SB 388 aim to cap renewable power on the grid or make it harder and more expensive to build. Supporters said it would bolster reliability. Opponents said it would only raise prices. Ultimately, those bills failed after an unusual coalition of environmental, renewable, and business groups all opposed. Bryn Baker is Senior Policy Director for the Texas Energy Buyers Alliance, which opposed the bills.
This is about cost and reliability, just full stop. And if we're talking about making things more expensive, you've got a whole bunch of folks interested and concerned.
Instead, the state legislature did approve $5 billion additional dollars of state coin for the Texas Energy Fund. That money will help finance building new power plants and energy resilience projects in the state. And now we head to West Texas. Marfa Public Radio's Travis Bubenik has more on a bill that cracks down on what one lawmaker calls fly-by-night chemical storage facilities in the oil patch.
The new legislation comes after one of those facilities caught fire and polluted a West Texas neighborhood last year. The fire broke out near Odessa, a small open-air facility that stored various oil industry-related chemicals in tall stacks of plastic tubs. Residents in a neighborhood next door said the fire led to a mysterious black sludge filling their homes and cars. Republican State Rep Brooks Landgraf responded with a bill that bans those types of facilities from being located within 2,000 feet of homes. It also sets up a state-run registration and inspections process. Landgraf called it an effort to protect people and to prevent another fire like the Odessa one. The bill doesn't require the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality to start enforcing the ban until lawmakers approve funding for just that purpose. But it does allow the TCEQ to start enforcement using existing money. Barring a veto from the governor, it'll take effect in September. Lawmakers also passed another bill this session on a different top-of-mind issue for West Texas: orphan wells. These no longer in use oil and gas wells can lead to pollution. A bill also awaiting Abbott's signature creates new requirements for energy companies to deal with those wells. I'm Travis Bubenik in Marfa, along with
Mose Bushell in Austin.
And Brad Burt in Lubbock.
And finally, the city of San Benito in the Rio Grande Valley Wednesday unveiled a pergola at the memorial for singer Freddy Fender. Fender, whose real name is Baldemar Huerta, hails from the Valley City, and San Benito city officials commemorated what would have been the singer's 88th birthday with the new structure, hoping the addition would create a more comfortable space for the singer's fans. And that's the latest news and information on South Texas Midday. I'm Lon Gonzalez. Your community arts calendar and more is coming up.